Hey guys, welcome to the Max Invest YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing a few specific things around Chainlink. We're going to be discussing why the market crashed so hard and then a little bit of news surrounding Chainlink. After that, we're going to be discussing sort of why Chainlink holders like Avalanche so much and if there's any value to the Avalanche ecosystem. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, remember to like and subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter and Discord, and remember, nothing in this video is financial advice and you should always do your own research. So, the first thing that I want to say is the reason Chainlink, Ethereum and a few other cryptos dropped so much overnight is essentially there were a ton of liquidations throughout the day. As we can see here, over $1 billion of Bitcoin was liquidated in a single day, which is completely ludicrous, and it shows way too many people in the crypto market are leveraging up, and as a direct result, when there's a bit of a drop, there's liquidations, more of a drop, and then the candle goes so far down, and you see a huge correction of about 20% on the day. Of course, I'm not worried about this correction at all, and I do see it as a nice opportunity to continue dollar cost averaging into my favorite projects. So, the first thing that I do want to discuss with Chainlink is it looks like Chainlink have a partnership with Microsoft in the works. Essentially, Chainlink and Microsoft have been sort of partnering and working together for a couple of years now, and there's been a few presentations between Chainlink and Microsoft on how Microsoft will actually use Chainlink. Currently, there's not that much evidence of Microsoft using Chainlink and blockchain just yet, and they haven't really started using it. However, there has been some talks about MetaMask potentially being able to connect to Microsoft Word, and individuals being able to code smart contracts off Microsoft Word, and a few more different things. However, there's nothing that's solid just yet, and it will be interesting to see in the future how Microsoft will use the blockchain. In my opinion, Microsoft will be one of the first companies that really starts using cryptocurrency in the blockchain, as they are a very large technology company. However, we will need to see this play out into the future. Now, the next cool bit of news that I did want to briefly discuss is that Ethereum's Layer 2 did more daily transactions than Bitcoin yesterday. Ethereum's Layer 2s did 250,000 transactions, whereas Bitcoin did 210,000 transactions. Now, this really does show that the Layer 2 ecosystem for Ethereum is really kicking off. A lot of people are using those Layer 2s, and it looks very good. Of course, this ecosystem is only just getting started, and it is something that I want to watch. As I alluded to at the beginning of the video, I do want to discuss why a lot of Chainlink holders really love Avalanche. If you look at the cryptocurrencies that Chainlink holders love other than Chainlink, it generally goes Ethereum first. Most Chainlink holders do like Ethereum a lot. However, Avalanche is definitely in second place, and a lot of Chainlink holders really do like Avalanche. So we're going to unpack what Avalanche does, if there's any merit to the ecosystem, and why Chainlink holders like it so much. Now, one of the big reasons Avalanche is really in the news, and there's a lot of hype around Avalanche, is there was a big subsidy program for Avalanche. This subsidy program was called Avalanche Rush, and what the Avalanche team did was they invested hundreds of millions of dollars into the ecosystem, and they basically invested this money into making the yields very high on Avalanche. As a direct result, a lot of people flooded to Avalanche, and a lot of yield farmers were able to make some insane money off Avalanche. Some of the applications that got this subsidy were Benqui, which already has over $1 billion locked into it, Trader Joe, and Pangolin. So a lot of people rushed to these applications, they used them a lot, and they liked them a lot. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of Chainlinkers like Avalanche, and a lot of yield farmers in general do like Avalanche. Now, another reason is that the founder of Avalanche has been in talks with Sergey Nazarov for years. The Avalanche and Chainlink communities have always been quite connected with each other, and ever since the early days of Avalanche when it was being founded, Avalanche already knew they'd be using Chainlink price feeds and Chainlink price oracles. Avalanche were always going to be using Chainlink, and Chainlink was a huge part of Avalanche's ecosystem. So, of course, a lot of Chainlink people do like Avalanche quite a lot, as it's one of those cryptocurrencies that really heavily depends on Chainlink and really heavily uses Chainlink, just like Ethereum. Some other ecosystems have tried to make their own oracles and do stuff with different oracles, and this hasn't been successful at all. However, Avalanche have really been dependent and reliant on Chainlink in the past. Now, the next big reason that I do think Chainlink people like Avalanche, and that I think Avalanche is quite good, is because Avalanche has its own unique consensus mechanism. And what this consensus mechanism does is it allows Avalanche to maintain a decent level of decentralization. Now, a lot of individuals that use Chainlink do like decentralization, including myself, and we really do want a decentralized blockchain. If we look at blockchains other than Bitcoin and Ethereum, most of the other blockchains are very centralized. If we look at things like Solana or the Binance Smart Chain, these blockchains are almost completely centralized, and since Chainlink is a decentralized oracle network, a lot of people don't like these fully centralized blockchains. So Avalanche is very good, as Avalanche is a relatively decentralized blockchain, and of course this pairs with a decentralized oracle very well. It means that we can use smart contracts in a way that essentially has no middlemen, is a lot more efficient, and has no one who can shut down the entire ecosystem and drain all of the liquidity if an individual wanted that to happen. So in my opinion, I do think Avalanche really is quite a cool cryptocurrency. However, there are a few problems with Avalanche. One of the big problems with Avalanche is during the Avalanche rush, when a lot of individuals were using Avalanche for yield farming, the fees started going up and up and up. And the reason for this was because Avalanche really hadn't been tested that much just yet. And as a direct result, a lot of high-stake individuals were processing way too much transactions, and this was slowing down the ecosystem significantly. Now, this is one of the things that I like about Ethereum over many other blockchains, and the thing I like about Ethereum is it's been battle tested. People have used Ethereum on a huge scale and it has tons of users, whereas some of these other smaller blockchains have a lot of promises, however they just haven't been battle tested to the same extent. Now, the next thing that makes me a little bit cautious on Avalanche is Avalanche's delegated proof of stake. Essentially, what this means is that delegators delegate the stake around to make the network as efficient as possible. However, delegated proof of stake can be quite bad for decentralization. In the short term, delegated proof of stake networks can be quite decentralized. However, over the long term, what can happen is a cartel effect can start forming, delegators can start accepting bribes and forming groups together, and it can result in the network becoming highly centralized. Vitalik Buterin has wrote an article on this, and I will leave it in the description below. However, I do find this quite interesting, and I think even though Avalanche is quite decentralized, it has a lot of validators, there are some problems with centralization. Avalanche is not as central or not as decentralized as Ethereum is, and it probably never will be. So, when you're using Avalanche, you need to be willing to take that trade-off. However, overall, if we look at all of the other layer 1s, Avalanche is probably the next most decentralized after Ethereum, but I still do believe Avalanche is a long way behind Ethereum. So overall, I do think Avalanche is cool. I think it's a good ecosystem. There's a lot of good opportunities in it. There's good yield farming opportunities. However, I really don't see anything that puts Avalanche over Ethereum myself. And in the future, I do believe blockchains will follow a bit of a power law distribution, and we will see Ethereum at the forefront being completely irreplaceable. So personally, Avalanche isn't that enticing for me, and I probably won't be investing in it, but I definitely understand that a lot of Chainlink holders like it. I can see why a lot of Link holders like it, and it can make a good investment for many individuals. I will extend on why I believe Ethereum is probably going to be the biggest player in the L1 space by a mile, and I did make a bit of a tweet about this. Of course, if you don't follow me on Twitter, it would be a good time to do so. Essentially, what I said is many believe in a multi-chain cryptocurrency future, where there's tons and tons of layer 1s and everybody is using all of these layer 1s equally. However, a power law distribution does seem more likely. Essentially, what a power law distribution says is that 80% of the value will accrue to a small number of protocols or a small number of platforms, and the remaining 20% will be a long stream of other protocols. And the best way to think about this is looking at any market in the world. If we look at, say, the iPhone market, the biggest iPhone manufacturer and creator is Apple, and this is by an absolute mile. Apple has a market cap of $2.5 trillion, and the next closest competitor has a market cap of a couple $100 billion, and that is Samsung. After Samsung, there's Huawei, and then all of the other iPhone manufacturers are nowhere to be seen. And this plays out in every other market. If we look at the e-commerce market, there's Amazon, which is the monopoly. If we look at the search engine market, there's Google, which is the monopoly. And this power law distribution tends to play out everywhere. Now, the reason such a power law distribution tends to play out everywhere is because once a network effect is built, it is unbreakable. If another iPhone comes out and they say, hey, we have 5 times as good as an iPhone as Apple, and they really do, well, it probably won't matter anyway, because everybody already owns an Apple iPhone. They're going to continue getting their Apple iPhone, and Apple will probably just copy some of the technology from that newer competitor in the market, and it will essentially just mean Apple will continue to dominate. The network effect can be very unbreakable, and this is essentially why I don't like to invest in too many other layer 1s and Ethereum. I do like to stick with Ethereum, as Ethereum's network effect, in my opinion, is unbreakable, and I don't believe it's replaceable. Now, this also goes for Chainlink. Think about it. Where's the monopoly in the data oracle space? Well, it's Chainlink. Chainlink will probably follow a power law distribution as well, where all of the value in the data oracle space accrues to Chainlink, 80% of that value, and then 20% is just a other bunch of random stuff that no one really uses. So, in my opinion, this is why I love to invest mainly in Chainlink and Ethereum. Chainlink and Ethereum are both monopolies over their given spaces. Ethereum is a monopoly over the layer 1 space, and Chainlink is a monopoly over the data oracle space. And as a direct result, I really do believe most of the value will accrue to these platforms, and these are the platforms that I want to invest in by far the most myself. Of course, you guys, if you disagree with me, leave comments down below. I'd be interested to see all of your opinions on this matter. However, this is just my opinion. And I do also want to say, just because I believe 80% of the value will accrue to Ethereum, this doesn't mean there won't be other protocols that go well. There will be some other protocols that do well. For example, Samsung has done pretty well in the iPhone space, and so has Huawei. However, I really still do believe that most of that value will accrue to the monopoly. So maybe Solana and Avalanche, or any protocols that you can really think of, might continue to do well over time, but I still do believe they're probably not going to outperform Ethereum, and that's why I have most of my money in Ethereum. Anyway, this kind of brings us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching the video. Remember to follow me on Twitter and also join the Discord channel. We're having some good discussions about how to earn yield on your Chainlink in the Discord channel, and it would be good to see you all in there. Thanks for watching the video.